Yeah, cool. Anyways, you want to kick off?
Let's kick off. It's a busy Monday here, and
Sweet. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think there are quiet days anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good problem, obviously. I mean,
Well, I don't know. I mean, not just busy with guests, just busy with all kind of other things, keeping it going. I guess I don't know. I mean, just yeah, making it all work, keeping it all working. It's
yeah,
yeah, it's never dull. That's for sure.
yeah, yeah. I mean, better exciting than boring, I think, even if it's maybe a bit more risky, but yeah. Do you want to run just a quick introduction, like a self introduction for those fine people who will not have met or heard of you yet? Um, and then we can sort of kick off from there.
I could, yeah. Yeah. So my name is Eelke Plasmeijer. I've been told it's a hard name to pronounce, but so I hear many varieties of it. I'm originally from the Netherlands, a little village in the south of the country. I would say around 20 minutes from the Belgian border. But again, I mean, you drive 2 hours and you through the country. So it's a tiny country. Um, 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 Grow up in not in the kitchen, but start working in kitchens when I was fairly young. I think I was 14 when I landed my first job in kind of the only restaurant we had in town. Realized that cooking was something that I really liked. After high school, went to hotel school, started working in proper restaurants. Gave up working in proper restaurants to go back to school to study journalism. Failed on that as well.
Mm.
And then I got a job offer to come to Indonesia, to Jakarta, to open a restaurant with two ex-colleagues from a restaurant in Amsterdam, which I first turned down and later took anyway. And spent 2 years in Jakarta. Both my friends, they left for Bali to do restaurants, hotels there. And when the second one walked out, Ray, my current partner in crime, walked in. We hit it off. We found a job in Bali, in a restaurant in Kuta, believe it or not, on the beach. Did that for a year. Got a, in our eyes, better job offer in a hotel in Lalila here in Ubud. And there's where we got into this thing, what we still do, as in using as many local ingredients as possible in our kitchens. After 3 years with the hotel, we realized that we like hotels, but we don't like working in hotels.
Mm.
And that's why we said, why don't we try to do something ourselves? Found a venue, found some money that were nice enough to spend some money and invest some money, and Locavore was born. This is now 11 years ago. Uh, we grew this very organically. We opened another restaurant, and we opened a bar because we had a great bartender with us. Fast forward 11 years, we closed the old Locavore and moved into Locavore Next. That's the restaurant I'm currently spending most of my time in, which is a massive, crazy restaurant. It's 47 times bigger than the old Locavore. And Yeah, we've been doing this now for a little over a year. It's doing well. It's a lot of work. A lot of things are working, but should be working better. Everything should be working better and doing better. So it's a very work in progress experience at the moment. And beside Local for Next, we're running a few other restaurants, mostly in Ubud, also in Jakarta. Let's not talk about that. And Yeah, I spend less time in kitchens than I used to, and that I like. I see myself more as a, let's call it, a facilitator these days, and
Mm.
try to have the people around me to be able to do their jobs as good as possible.
Yeah, cool. How did that? So when you say you moved to Bali and then sort of started doing the local support thing, how did that idea come about, or that kernel of an idea sort of spark off? Because I think you sort of did that maybe in tandem with that movement coming up in the entire world. I was just wondering if that was like a zeitgeist thing, or was there a moment where you were like, oh, this could really work? Like, what does local mean to you, and how did that start?
Well, I mean, it just makes sense, right? I mean, that's one. I think that's the most important reason. Why would you? Well, first of all, travel to Bali to come and eat things that are maybe better, or not maybe, that are better in the country you traveled from. It's also a lot more interesting as a chef, right? I mean, as I grow up in a European country, four seasons,
Mm.
and yeah, that is nice. But it's a lot nicer to cook with the things that are around you. Um, And I think the whole, like, this makes sense because it's also better for the planet, kind of came later, in all honesty. That was just a nice little, not little, but that was just like a nice bonus that, it's interesting for guests, it's interesting for ourselves, and it's just so much more better for, obvious reasons.
Yeah. Okay. So, but was there like a moment of inspiration that you found like, okay, this is why we want to do this, or did it just kind of grow about naturally? You started using a few things here and there, and then it sort of went all the way into full tilt mode.
Well, it started in Jakarta because the restaurant we worked into Jakarta was, well, it was a failure, first of all, but second of all, we imported everything from all over the world, right? We got our veggies twice a week. This is 20 years ago, so it's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
So we got our veggies twice a week from Australia. We brought in fish from Europe. It was all, and we were cooking very French in this modern building in Jakarta that, and it, we didn't know any better because that was the food I grew up cooking. And it is a very conservative profession. If your chef tells you to, jump in the river, you jump in the river, right? You don't really think if that, oh, why should I do that? I mean, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
So, but then, spending a bit more time in Jakarta, in Indonesia, we realized, there is so much interesting stuff locally to work with. And why are we bringing all these things in? Why do we work with frozen Dover sole? Well, we can get really beautiful, barramundi or snapper or seafood from Lombok or whatever. This just, it's, and zeitgeist for sure. This was happening all over the world, right? In, say, South America and Scandinavia, well, even in my little country. So yeah, a combination of those things, but especially just finding really cool and delicious things in our close surroundings. And I think that was the most important reason to move to Bali. Was not just, it's a nicer place to live, but also because there's a lot more, you're a lot closer from nature than you are in Jakarta. So it's a lot easier to connect with ingredients and farmers and fishermen. Sorry. So yeah,
Yeah. Cool. So a
yeah,
combination of reaction
yeah, it was,
and sort of
yeah.
excitement and yeah, wicked. Does that also inform how you grow stuff? Because right now, obviously, with Locavore Next, maybe we should actually give a frame of that project also, just for people who aren't intimately familiar. That it's growing. You have a food jungle and you have other things associated with it. It's not just a restaurant, so to speak. But well, maybe that to start. Maybe we should frame up what Locavore Next is, and then we can talk about how you're growing stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think the tagline, more than a restaurant is very valid. So it's big, and when we had the chance to do a better and bigger and newer version of the old Locavore, we started thinking, what do we really want? What didn't we have, in those years that we run the old Locavore? Space was a main limitation, but also growing facilities and but we also realized that, we established all this beautiful contacts with farmers that were growing things specifically for us. We didn't want to stop that, so we didn't want to grow everything ourselves, which is also very
Yeah.
hard to do. You do need a lot of space, so we want to keep working with those farmers, but we wanted to grow things ourselves. So we just an example, we grow a lot of mushrooms indoors in the basement. We keep our own bees. The like you said before, the roof is an edible jungle. Not so much to harvest from. We are harvesting from it, but it's more like an inspirational calendar forest or whatever. We go up and we see, that is coming. Or so we have a massive selection of fruit trees, but just one or two, just feel what is coming, what is happening, how is nature reacting. It's all messed up, right? I mean, the wet
Yeah.
season is super wet. The dry season is a lot drier and hot. It's all really weird. So seasons are weird, acting weird. Um,
Oh, they're gonna
so
get weirder too, right?
yeah, no, for sure. And it's two restaurants, not just the one. So we got our tasting menu restaurant, which is the Locavore Next, but we got a canteen in there, which is also the canteen, but we also use that for events, more casual dinners. We serve breakfast in there for the guests that stay over, because we got a few cottages that people can stay over for a night. So we cook them a really nice breakfast. This is Reyes, his cup of tea. He's a breakfast guy. So we cook guests that stay over for a nice breakfast. We, we try to be, whatever it means, as sustainable, as green as possible. So we got as many solar panels as we could afford and we could place. We have a closed loop water system, so the water, kind of stays on site. We really thought about how do we manage our waste in the best way possible, because in Bali, that is the most in-your-face problem that needs to be tackled right now. So we did a lot on. So we have a beautiful waste system that works but needs improving still. So it's really, you could say, the dream restaurant we created. All the things we always wanted and we never had, we have right now. And we
beautiful.
can still really grow into this building, into this concept. We're not going to be bored in 5 years, because there's still that's a few things we briefed our creative partner on. Like, we want all the space, we want all these growing facilities, and we don't want to get bored in 5 years from now. So I think we're not going to get bored anytime soon.
Yeah, great. So with that sort of frame and model, does your, let's say, approach affect the way you're growing things either in the food jungle or in your growing space, in terms of like how you choose to grow stuff? Obviously with climate change in mind and with being a little more sustainable, or whatever that means, in mind, are you growing in a certain way that resonates with you the most?
I mean, as genuine as possible. I mean, so we really want to have an authentic looking food jungle on the roof. So we selected the plants. Some plants that didn't work. We work it. Not me, but we have a great head gardener. Her name is Ari, and her team. So she's doing a great job, and she understands exactly what I want. Sometimes you have these issues with say an housekeeping team or an HR team, say why those dead leaves can't be there, or guests can see. So it's a funny kind of conversation. It's not always the most, it's not here to be pretty, but it's here to impress people by being as genuine as possible. And it's the thing we influence the most is the variety we try to grow, and the sky is the limit.
I love this idea that you have like almost, those like flower clocks, like the things that bloom every hour or whatever, like those cheesy sort of, it would be like our parents' generation would maybe find them really cool, but you have sort of like a seasonal flower clock on your roof where you go up and you go, oh fuck, the mangosteens are coming, like let's get ready and like kick off that for the menu and start like brain juices flowing towards that and stuff. I think that's a really cool notion.
It's really what it is. It's in a calendar forest or whatever name you want to put on. We kind of know what is coming, when it's coming, and Bali is small and it's very micro, right? I mean, it's you got it gets quite where they farm most European veg. It's quite cold, right? But we don't use them anyway. But it's interesting how and it's inspiring, right? I mean, we don't have to make the trip into nature. We just walk the stairs and we're in nature. So that's
nice proximity as well.
Exactly.
And then so you're using like a permaculture ethic where you said you were dropping leaves and keeping them on the ground and stuff. That's on purpose, and that's like your gardening team is super on board, or
no, 100%. No, Ari he's great. He's such a luck find. It's again. I mean, it's if where we normally take our guests or our friends foraging, it's very permaculture, but they don't even know that it is, right? It just works, right? There's this, it's been like this for centuries, and they still farm that. So it's a bit of an edible. It's a cultivated jungle, I normally call it, right? There's a lot of they grow things, and there's they harvest from it, but there's also a lot of wild things they harvest, and they all and they all go hand in hand, and that's really really cool. So that's really what we try to recreate here on site.
You were
And
just
then sorry, yeah.
No, go ahead.
And then we have a little, which was a very last minute kind of thing, because we wanted to do more solar panels, but then the Indonesian government had a new regulation that you can only do 20% of your power powered by solar panels. Don't ask me. Don't ask. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. But
they turned that back. They
right.
turned that back, but that was a bit too late for us. So we purchased a piece of land where we wanted to put more power panels. Sorry, so we could go 50% of our power. But then we were not allowed. So we or Ari put in a veggie garden. The first thing we did when we brought the team on board, because the building wasn't ready, was an overgrown pandan plantation where they would grow pandan mostly for weaving. So we took a lot of that out and we put in a veggie garden, and that is producing for for the canteen. So mostly for ourselves. So that is a bit more traditional veggie garden where we grow cucumbers and chilies and eggplants, and that most of that goes into the kitchen for the canteen, so the stuff we eat ourselves. So that is really nice, a bit of a bonus, but too small to use for for 50 guests.
You wouldn't be able to do everything. Yeah.
No.
I think most people don't understand how much space you actually need to grow for a restaurant of a certain size. Because like we used to grow a lot of our own vegetables, and we would have needed maybe 20 times the space to really make a significant like to be like, we're growing most of our own stuff would be like 20 times this. It's crazy amounts of space.
It's hard, it's a lot of planning and getting ready, and you can't do a menu if you wanna be that kind of restaurant, right? You can't. You need to do a new menu every day, and that is in our concept is very hard. If you're a lot more casual and a lot more spontaneous, I think yes you can, and I would love that one day. But no, you're absolutely right. I mean, it takes a lot of space to cook for 50 guests a day.
It's astonishing actually. So I wanted, there's sort of two things. You were just in Japan, correct?
Yeah.
Did you or have you before maybe you encounter this idea of the Satoyama, like it's basically what you talked about, this like cultivated jungle. So there's a space basically outside of the village that they call Satoyama, which is kind of like managed wilderness.
Okay, the new term. No, but that sounds cool.
It's a term that resonates with me immensely because I think we need to lean into this kind of space a lot more in the future. It's like it's a wild space where nature reigns, but human beings kind of know what stuff is and know where things are. We tread lightly, and therefore it maintains over long periods of time. It actually is like a combination of mountain and forest, I think. So it's this border of the mountain outside of the village, but I love the concept anyways, and you sort of said that cultivated jungle. It really connected those two things.
They love their foraging in Japan, don't they? We were just it started. We went for the snow, and it was only my second visit to Japan, and it was melting hard. So you saw that these old ladies mostly, what are they doing? And they're actually foraging for this spring veggies. It was amazing.
Well, that's the time, right? Like they're crazy about the spring vegetables. They're really scared of mushrooms, interestingly.
Although somebody told me this.
They don't really forage mushrooms, and I grew up as a mushroom forager, so when I go there I'm like, okay, what can we get? And they're like, no.
I don't know why, but somebody recently told me this as well. There must be some deeper meaning that I don't know. But in Bali, in this is still also, it's changing pretty fast here as well, of course, but getting things from the wild is still pretty common, not so much in cities like Denpasar, but if you go where we know foraging, they still get our fern tips and all those weird leaves and mostly medicinal things, but that's changing so fast. I mean,
it's disappearing quick.
The guy who Pa Agong is his name, that we go normally around his village and his lands, and his son, I remember before he already lost all his teeth before he was even losing his teeth, right? His milk teeth. There was like, because the crap these kids eat nowadays, right? It's all sugar. It's all, we call it a little warung, where you buy, the worst stuff. My kids like it too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, and it's not that I don't let them, but less, I guess. But everything is so bad, and so
Oh yeah, you're
this is it's
you're
disappearing fast.
biologically engineered to get destroyed by that food, basically, right? And
Yeah.
you let go of traditions where you have to eat bitter herbs every morning pretty quickly in the face of Honey Nut Cheerios or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I mean, we need to sort of figure out how to reverse that process. You even have the unfuck the world thing,
Unfuck the
right?
future. Yeah.
Unfuck
Yeah.
the future. Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
like our t-shirts here. Yeah, we do lots of those kind of slogans on t-shirts and sell them, but also wear them ourselves mostly. And yeah, no, my creative partner, he is very good in his one-liners, and in fact the future, yeah,
Is that part of it? So
I
like
might be too
support
late, man.
foraging and yeah, no, I don't worry. I have my days where I'm cynical as well. But do you think that's like part of your ethos is also to do a little bit of that? I don't want to call it even cultural preservation, but like reintroduction of things that you feel are valuable from a maybe an exterior lens to add value for locals to them, because I feel like this happens often where in the face of sort of capitalism writ large, people issue their own traditions for what they think the world is doing, and sometimes it's a really interesting thing that occasionally you can add value just by being interested in these traditions, or just by saying like, wow, that's so cool, I want to try that, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna sound, Ray and we're not very ambitious, deep thinking guys. The project is very ambitious, but I like to believe we are not. I know we are not. So all these things, they kind of just came on our path, right? And we said, oh, this is fun, or this is cool, or this makes sense, or this is the way to get new ingredients to the restaurant. And like I said earlier, the whole it's actually really good for the planet kind of story is important, but it came along for the ride, right? I mean, it was like we start doing locally sourced ingredients only, and then from one comes another, and I've been brought up with this, but you don't think about it as a cook,
Mm,
so I don't want to say this is the reason we are doing it, but it's a great bonus that if in the process one or two or five, 10 of our Balinese team members will think about, oh, if we don't do it, with if we stop doing it ourselves, so this restaurant we work in actually makes us keep doing it, and that's a good
mm,
thing. So and that will be great, and
yeah,
that will be amazing, and I would feel really good about what we are doing, and but it's just it goes hand in hand with the concept and the things we started to believe in, I think, right? I mean, um, yeah, so sometimes we just organically um, get into these things, and it's great, but
yeah.
it's not that we started doing them for those reasons necessarily.
Well, I think that's been an interesting thing for me as part of sort of I think with my journey was I was quite heavily focused on sustainability from the start. But what I'm seeing more recently, which I love, is that people who were focused on excellence or like the pursuit of just making good fucking food are actually finding sustainability through that. Like they're moving towards better farmers, better ingredients, more well-grown products because they understand that actually the stuff made by people who care about the planet is fucking, sorry for swearing so much, but it's often way better than stuff made by people who couldn't give a shit. And I
Yeah,
think that's been an interesting trajectory for me because I've always associated the sort of hyper fine dining guys going after the stars kind of as like wanting very uniform products, wanting to use a lot of maybe fat, sugar, these like bleached, hyper processed things in their procedures. And I'm seeing more of them now than ever before, like reversing that trope and going, no, we need the more interesting product grown by the more interesting person with the more interesting flavor.
yeah. I think for us, I think that the lucky combination is that a lot of those ingredients we are after, they don't get farmed, right? They
Yeah.
actually or you can't, if they farm them in very traditional ways, like bamboo, right? I mean, or these kind of things. It's the scale of farming is so small, and often it's wild stuff that is either still wild or that is semi-wild or semi-farmed. So I think that helps with you don't have to farm them in beautiful rows. So they don't have to look pretty, or as long as they are tasting really, really nice, and they are a product that for us is not only from here but also interesting to show to our guests and to work with. And I don't know, how to describe this better, but I think you can say it better than me. But yeah, it goes hand in hand, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And automatically the people that doing the right thing, or the best thing possible in their situation, are the ones we want to work with, and are the ones we want to buy our produce from. So it's just, it just goes hand in hand.
Yeah. So you mentioned a few times that the seasons are getting really sort of squirrely, and maybe climate's getting a little less predictable. Do you see that this is also a style to maybe be a bit more resilient in the face of climate change, in this sort of, instead of growing monocrops and needing just more pesticides or fertilizers or whatever, when you have a bit more biodiversity around you, it tends to be more resilient to changing weather? Or is that just also just an added bonus to the mix?
A little bit of both, maybe. Um, yeah, and because yeah, I would say it's an added bonus. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Um, yeah. It's just that, again, like I said earlier, it's just the products we are after are often not farmed in the wrong conditions. Those things we don't use, or try to stay away from. Yeah.
Cool. Bringing it back to the kitchen, does how things are grown sort of affect how you work with stuff? Like, will you go, oh, this is wild, we need to work with it in a very pure way, or is there any sort of thought process around growing affecting cooking?
Um, I'm not sure I understand your question, but um, for so where we are is a limitation, and a lot of people come to Bali and they say, this is paradise, right? Everything grows here. Everything is but in for a lot of produce, life is too easy, right? So
Mm,
I remember things like my parents had we had a small tiny veggie garden. I don't want to get too romantic about it, but we would have strawberries, and we would have some cucumbers and rhubarb, and they grow those things here, and it's never as tasty as what it is back home, because it's just the wrong produce to grow in this climate, in this soil, in these
yeah.
conditions. So a strawberry from Bali or a cucumber from Bali, it's never the same as a cucumber or a strawberry from cold soil that has to struggle, and that's another reason to stay away from those products, because they're just not as tasty as they are in the part of the world I grow up, and where we get
Mm,
most of our guests from.
yeah.
Um,
But there's
so
also like the microorganisms in the soil that will be adapted to those, or like, for example, an ubud would be adapted to the local plants, are just not going to work as well with the root stock of strawberries from Belgium or whatever, right? So makes
yeah,
total sense. Yeah.
yeah, and then just follow. So in a way, we're lucky that is our concept, right? We want to keep it as like hyper local, whatever is a bit of a popular term at the moment. We want to go as local as possible. So, and it's when we opened Locavore, we were not so deep into this, right? We just wanted to have our own restaurant and cook the food we wanted to cook, and then after a few years, we got more into it and realized the stuff we were cooking with is not, it's grown locally, but it is not from here. But if you go a bit deeper in that, it means that a lot of things that are part of the Indonesian diet, they're not
Mm,
from here, right? I mean, chilies, tomatoes, coffee, cacao, pretty
Yeah.
much the whole mango, passion fruit, lots of things that you take for granted because they're such an important part of the Indonesian diet. But they've been here for many centuries. So at a certain moment, we started making decisions and say, okay, can we still use this particular ingredient? Although it's, and more often we said no, let's not. Then we said yes, we can. So that is a limitation. That was what I was leading to. Sorry, I'm a bit all over the place today.
You're all right. Yeah.
It's Monday. So yeah, so it is. So we don't have anything fancy, or the seafood is not as delicious as it is when it comes from a cold sea, because there's no fat, and there's the seawater is still, it all makes sense. So we do that. We feel that we do have to apply a lot of thinking, a lot of technique, a lot of often preservation techniques, whatever that is, to make simple, humble Indonesian ingredients delicious and maybe interesting enough to put them in the spotlight the way we are doing. So I would love to have a scoop of caviar here and there, just to to fancy up our food and make people like it, because people that come to a restaurant like Locavore next, they have expectations, that they expect some kind of luxury, and the luxury of us is not the ingredients. So how do we then still deliver for the price we ask them to pay for it? So it's hard. It's that is an, I don't know why we got into that, not your question, but it's a bit of a it's an ongoing struggle to how can we deliver a menu that is value for money without having any value ingredients
Yeah, but I guess the obvious answer is creativity, right? Like you've mentioned limitations a few times, and for me, I've always seen limitations as extremely valuable for chefs, especially young chefs, in terms of creativity. You've been to Singapore, but like the young chefs in Singapore have no limitation on ingredients that comes in. You get everything from everywhere in the world, and because they don't grow up in certain environments, they don't necessarily understand the quality is not the same. But it means that they don't value creativity and critical thinking as applied to food as much as I feel like you do when you have a lot of limitations. For me, limitations booms your creativity, and you guys are a great example. Like your food is extremely creative, but it uses sort of ingredients that are from a limited scope, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, again, this is one of those things. I'm like a horse, right? I mean, I'm so in my own lane that I often, but yeah, if you go Singapore, it just doesn't make sense, right? I mean, it's also that they don't have a choice, really.
Yeah,
But
fair.
yeah, no, limitations make you creative. That's it could be a T-shirt, but no, it's fair. Yeah, and then we add some limitation on top of our limitation, because we said let's not do dairy because dairy is not a traditional Indonesian thing. Let's not do wheat flour because they don't grow wheat flour. So you see our new. We recently brought in a kitchen chef, and she spent a long time in Room for Desserts, and it's a great restaurant, and he's a great cook, and she is a great cook and works for a great chef, Will. But for her to make the switch from, oh shit, I have to do desserts without dairy, without sugar, without wheat, that's extremely hard. And for us, it's so second nature already, right? But it takes it completely out of a comfort zone, and that's another thing that is very important. I think if you get taken out of your comfort zone, it's not only as a chef, but also for guests. I think it's good. Not
That's
everybody
a
likes
valuable,
it. Yeah, not everybody likes it, and a lot of people stay in their comfort zone for the obvious reason. But yeah, we do like to take not only our chefs out of it, but also our guests a little bit, just enough to make them not uncomfortable, but think about what's happening around them, I guess. And some people don't care, and they just come for a meal, and that's it. And some people really want to get deep into it. So yeah, if people want to hear more, we have a great story to tell. If people just want to have a meal, we can do that too.
Yeah, also can. Yeah. So on the sort of sound bites part, because we mentioned the t-shirts a couple times, I saw you mentioned at Kita this like you have a list of words that's like bullshit bigger words or something like that.
Bullshit bingo. Yeah.
Yeah.
We never produced a game. I thought seriously producing. if you know the magazines, right? You and I both flip through them once in a while. What are they? Destinasia and S whatever they're called. If they write about restaurant, they're always in the lush jungle, and it's always chef driven, organic, sustainable, all those words. So we said, okay, when we write about our restaurant, let's try not to use those words.
Okay. I
And
see.
so that's where the bullshit bingo came from.
Yeah.
There's a list of words we can't use. It's very hard to then still deliver the message. So I think we shoot ourselves in the foot quite a lot, because we also have this thing that is show don't tell. So now we got Potato Head on the island, right? I mean, they are amazing and a different league, but they do feed you all this information of the good things they are doing, and I'm always like, let's not talk about it, let's just do it. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of feeling forced that we do need to talk about the things we're doing as well. Otherwise, you fall behind, and people go somewhere else, and so so it's hard to. I rather just do it, and if people, like I said before, people want to hear more, there's all the information ready for them if they want to hear more. But you don't want to stuff it through people's throat, and sustainability. It's becoming, people don't want to listen to you anymore when you drop that word, right? So it's a tricky.
Well, there's always a balancing act, right? It's like we always used to tell the staff that it's like, if people are interested, go for it, but like don't tell anybody anything that they don't want to hear, because there's tons of people just in here on a date and they give a shit where the fish is from, and they're just trying to have like a romantic evening, and you could stop interrupting them for 5 sentences every dish. That would be great. Just pop the food down, say what it is, and get out of their hair. And if they ask questions, then know everything to be able to back it up. But yeah, I think that's it's a tricky balance, because some people will also just walk in expecting it and maybe not even flag that they want it, and then some people won't want it at all. And it's always a fun game to play with your guests, and to a larger extent the media and everything, is like, how do you effectively communicate what you're up to without sounding either A, full of yourself, or B, like you're the second coming of Christ or something, right? So
Balancing act.
Balancing.
Exactly. Also the same with making your. I was talking to somebody earlier. It is also a balancing act. I mean, we're doing menu 3 now in next, and we're working on menu 4. That's for next month. It's a balancing act. How much can you push creativity and weird things, or whatever that means, and I still have your guests to really enjoy what you're doing. It's also very tricky, right? Cook, I want to do more, but then people walk out of the door not happy, and it's really the worst thing that you hear a few times a week, or a few times per evening, that people say, I was too weird, it was it was very special. That's never. How can you
more interesting than good is the really bad one. That's what I don't. I hate that one.
That's a killer.
But with that, like 2 things. I mean, there's a lot of people doing a couple menus nowadays. I realize this would be self-hating of you, because you'd have more dishes to come up with and everything. But if you weren't self-hating, you wouldn't be a chef. So would you ever consider having like an intro to Locavore menu, and then a like get in here and get crazy kind of menu?
Sorry, I don't follow.
So like some restaurants, tasting menu restaurants, right? You'll come in and you can order 2 tasting menus. One might be like a comfortable menu for people who don't want to challenge themselves too much, and one might be like, this has insects and everything we can throw at you on the table. Just wondering if you would consider that, or would you just say like, no, we do what we do, and people will love it or hate it, kind of?
We have not. But it's not something that ever came up, to be honest. Well, operationally, it's quite hard to
exactly.
So we used to do it in the old Locavore, but that was just, we had an Herbivore and a Locavore menu, so we just had a vegetarian menu and a normal menu, and they're both doing whatever we wanted to do. But no, I mean, I think I'm now. I rather have everybody walking out of the door being really happy, and push a little less hard, and knowing it. still have enough people coming through to see what we are doing and liking what we're doing. And I rather, it's also for the team on the floor, right? It gets really annoying if people keep on saying it's we get this a lot, like our flavors are quite bold, right? It's very umami, it's very not acidic, but for me it's what I want to eat, right? I want to have. My problem in Singapore, often you have a tasting menu and it's like, yeah, great ingredients, they're all flown in from somewhere, but can I have some Asian punch, right? Can I have? So we do this, but what we on one evening we might have European guests saying, oh, it's a little bit too sweet. We might have Asian guests saying, oh, it was a bit too acidic. We also have that. We need to keep in mind where we are. We are on a tropical holiday island, so we have people from all over the world. So we're not in Amsterdam or New York or name some other more, Amsterdam bad example, but
I get you though.
no,
No,
right?
totally.
So,
like you have a diversity of palettes coming through. That's
yeah,
pretty complex to deal with. Yeah.
and we want people to, most important, and I think the first menu we did in Locavore Next was our best menu, and the menu we're doing now is a lot safer, and it's not safe, but it's safer. So I like the first menu the most, but it's keeping in mind that we want our guests to be as happy as possible. That is also a more and more important consideration when we think about our menus.
Yeah. Do you think the guests are coming also because, like, I mean, obviously, well, there's two parts to this, I guess. It's like, you think guests are coming because the concept resonates with them a lot, just in terms of like Locavore and wanting to experience Bali? Or is it largely like reputational?
I like to believe it's more of the first than of the second. But you might be surprised how many people that we get that have no idea what we're doing and who we are. I mean, if I travel, I travel, book a hotel, and then I'm in my hotel, and hey, where should we go tonight? So I might stumble upon something, and then I'm stumbling on something with an open mind. But a lot of people don't do that. So we have people, oh, I didn't know you were only doing local ingredients, or I didn't know you did a tasting.
That's crazy though, right? That's just like, oh, I didn't even look at the name of the restaurant. Yeah, okay.
It happens every night for a few tables. But I think what helps is the more you get your name out, the more you get established, the better people come, better prepared people come. And, that's kind of, you want people that know what they get themselves into, right? You want people to know we're not going to have any fancy ingredients that are imported tonight. Well, it's going to be a longer menu. It's going to be quite experimental. That we take you through the building and we show you the building. We need, the more people come in with an open mind, the more they're going to like it normally. I would definitely more people from that first group than from that second group. We do get Indonesian people that this happened a bit more in the old venue when we were the best restaurant in Indonesia for some lists, and then they come and check that out, and then they walk out of the door super disappointed because they didn't have Wagyu and it didn't have foie gras and it didn't have all those things. So the more people know who we are, what we do, the more time we are open, and that it just gets more fun and more appreciated, I think.
And they have more context for their dining experience and stuff, right? So.
And you don't want to be the restaurant saying our guests have to do the homework before they come to our restaurant. Right?
No, fair.
I hear restaurants saying that, but no, but it's nice if people know what they get themselves into, and it helps to appreciate the experience better.
Yeah. Do you feel like part of maybe there's a switch in the presentation of your concept, in that because you're doing so much of the infrastructure in terms of waste management, in terms of growing your own food, in terms of having water treatment, you don't have to maybe announce as much through the food? So because it feels like you're saying you'd like to take the pedal off of the food a little bit, but maybe that pedal is straight to the ground already because guests are coming into this experience and it's clearly all around them what you're doing, right?
Well said. I think you know how it is, right? I mean, I live in Bali for 18 years. You stop seeing the beauty of it, right? I'm in this restaurant every day, and I actually don't like it. Don't tell anybody. I'm not a fan. If I could get a second chance, I would do it completely different. It's such a challenging, little ugly. I mean, it's just we picked tropical brutalism for the reason that it has you have the extreme contrast with nature, and that's the concept, right? It's brutalism in the building, nature claiming it back, and every day it gets better, right? It gets greener,
Yeah.
it gets more wild. Um, so that is great. So what I'm trying to say is, I walk around this building, not 100% liking it yet, and then I don't see what people see, right? I walk to my bar where people start their experience. I say, fuck that crack in the floor, and the ceiling is leaking again, and guests don't see that, right? And
Yeah.
I stopped talking about it because I would guess, oh, it's beautiful. I would say, what do you mean it's beautiful? Don't you
There's a
see
crack in
those?
the floor.
Yeah, I really, and I stop, Eelke, stop. So yeah, and that's what we wondered with next, right? The old Locavore was if people hated the food, the service could compensate a little bit. But that was it, right? It was just a little restaurant in the middle of Ubud.
Yeah.
And so if you wouldn't like the food, we were in trouble. Here, we get people that say, yeah, it's a bit too out there for me, but I had a lovely evening and I loved the experience. So the storytelling got more complete, and that is great. And that is exactly what we wanted. Not to make people look away from the food,
No, but
it's just to have this stronger story and connection, and that is
and a fit with where you are and everything, right?
yeah. So that helps, and that is great. And but I'm the only one who maybe thinks about we not pushing it enough. Suki, who you know well, Suki, sorry, I think you know her. She, she hurt my feeling all the time, which is fine. But the other day she said, I like the old Locavore because the guys didn't give a shit. And I said, I still don't give a shit, but I have to give a shit because I have to pay this money back I invested in this building, right? So I like to give less, shit less, whatever. But so I don't think anybody sees this except myself and maybe Ray, of course.
I mean, this is there's something here that's like much deeper in that. I try and explore this concept a little bit from time to time, which is that like I think chefs in general have the most insane perspective on first their own projects and second on food in general, and the amount of let's say like mediocre creativity that passes for extreme, like people act like it's some insane revolution in food, just sometimes shows me that I need to like step back and kind of look at the general public sometimes and go like, those are the people that come into the restaurant. It's not 100 of me or 100 of you that are coming through the door who are looking for little details and like will notice if there's something small that's off because they live in that space. It's people who are coming for an evening out, and most of the time they want to have a good time. And like there's a lot of our job that is the roots of hospitality, which is just facilitating that. And then we're adding layers and layers and layers of complexity, right? So but it's 100%. Always an interesting experience there. Like I'm sure no matter how many times you would be able to change your restaurant, you would always want to do it again.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. No, 100%. Yeah. It's not nice. But
it's the curse.
In that way, Japan is great, right? These guys are, they're happy to do one thing. It's a cliche, I know, but matter of speaking, they do one thing and they just improve and improve until they're really good at it, and that's fine and that's great. And I think I'm just not just me, but maybe because I'm from a different country or whatever. It seems like it's never enough. But then exactly like say if you would come to next and you would tell me, I mean this is really cool and I think the food you're doing is pretty out there, and then I will be nodding yeah. And even if it comes from somebody like you, I know it. Then it's true, and it matters what we're trying to do. But then it's still in my, it's like yeah, okay, but I mean,
but back
annoying,
here, there's something. There's other thoughts going on. Yeah, I know. I totally get you. I feel that way all the time. I think it's the curse of being sort of a, I don't know, the modern chef owner kind of thing. Not to derail things too hard on that, but there's an interesting kernel of the personality that gets into creative food sometimes just has that essence of, yeah, it's never going to be enough. Like, I'd always want to change something. I'm always looking for the error and trying to correct for it and maybe systemize that. And that doesn't necessarily ever work. You
Mm.
kind of have to work with the imperfections of things, and maybe to an extent, like the biodiverse jungle around you or whatever, like how diverse your surroundings are, you have to learn to like cultivate that without destroying it somehow. I think
Yeah.
that's the great mystery for me, for every kitchen and enterprise I've ever run and been inside. Um, but yeah, to bring it back to maybe more concrete stuff that an audience can understand. Um, I did want to touch on one more thing about sharing with people, because we've been on that subject, that you have this biodiversity interactive open source library where you're sort of cataloging local ingredients and sharing them. I've seen some like three-dimensional imagery and information. Um, what's the idea with that in general? Like, why did you start that up?
It's mostly a stick to hit ourselves, to be honest. I mean, so we've been running our lab kitchen, for a long time. It used to be on top of our Indonesian restaurant further down the street of the old Locavore. It moved with us to the new one, so we got our lab here, and we were very good in, doing really nice new dishes like all the time, but the going deeper into things and actually, I also, what's the word? Not registering them, but there's a better word in English.
Like researching? No.
Yeah, yeah. If you research, you make notes. So the notes taking part. I don't know. For sure there's a better English word.
Okay, no worries. Yeah.
Yeah, when you sit down and you actually,
Oh, like catalog thing.
exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
We had a German creative chef for many years, and he was very creative, but he was a German, so you would expect him to do better, but he wasn't doing that. That was not his thing. So we tried to work with having somebody next to him doing this, but it's very frustrating. And every time it doesn't happen often, but when he left, I felt we missed. So many information got lost, or not
Right.
lost. We spend so much time and energy on doing these things, and then it's just kind of not handed over, not
Yeah.
cataloged proper. So it's now we have to start all over. So the whole ingredient thing was okay. If we just need to start categorizing what ingredients do we have, and how did we use them in the past, and how are they used traditionally in Indonesia or in other countries, or where they're from, or their names, and yeah, Wikipedia, whatever. So then again, my creative partner David said, let's not just make pictures of them, but let's design a 3D scanner so you can actually see them in 3D, and we can slice it, and you can see the interior. And this is a work in progress thing, right? So we unfortunately we had somebody doing this 3 days a week. He had his last day last week, so we looking at somebody who can, as a part-time job, start doing the scanning. I think because it's quite technical. It's taking a lot of pictures of the same
Yeah.
product, obviously, and then we have somebody else who inputs the information. So we have a lot of inputted information, and now we just need to catch up with the scanning. But you can do like on one day you can do 5 products. So yeah. And
Yeah.
so the stick really was, okay, if we make this part of the guest experience, we need to keep doing this, and we need to do a good job, and that English needs to be correct, and that scan needs to be nice. So that is why we integrated it in the building and in the guest experience. And if one day, say, a friend of ours in the Philippines or in the Netherlands say, that is cool, I want to do the same thing in my country. Yeah, cool. I mean, let's set it up. Let's do it. So, but to have, it's, we work with many weird ingredients that guests never seen or had before. So there was also that part. How can we show this to them without putting them on a plate on the table? Because that's been done, right? You have restaurants that come out with a plate of food with all the ingredients, and that is cool because people can touch them. But it felt a bit, done before. So we said, okay, let's do it as a bio library, and people can play with the screen, and they can, it's very small part of the experience. But it's a fun part.
But for now, it's only in the experience. It's not open for public use online or anything at the moment.
No, we're rolling that out. I would love
Okay.
to turn it into an app, or it's so we're working with somebody in Jakarta who's doing that, who also developed a 3D scanner for us, who's turning that into something that is, yeah. I mean, again, I don't believe in keeping secrets. I mean, if you want to do the same thing in Singapore, well, good luck.
Yeah,
Right? not just recipe wise or ingredient wise, but everything wise. And so there's no secrets here, right? I mean, it's like El Bulli, right? I mean, they didn't give shit because nobody could do it better than them anyway, right? So,
but I totally agree with that philosophy. I think there's nobody who's going to do it quite like you do. So why the fuck should you hide it? Yeah.
I hope not for them. But yeah, I mean, again, doing this in what country can you do this? I mean, I don't know. We're as a sustainable business, financial business, which we are not yet, but I think we can. We have to. But yeah, so that's a whole different conversation. But yeah, just doing a better job in registering or categorizing what we are doing, so it doesn't go to waste. That's really what it came from, and it's just a cool way of doing it. That's really what it is.
Yeah, wicked. I mean, it's an amazing idea and project, and I think it'll probably end up going into like research papers and shit in the future if it can maintain trajectory and stuff.
Yeah,
Mate, you'd be surprised how many people have no idea what's out there.
It's I mean, again, yeah, happy to. That would be cool. For now, it's really it's great for guests. It's that stick I needed to make things just hit myself mostly, just to get those things done, and keep them happening. Not that we have a new R&D chef coming in and we have to start again and again and again.
Yeah, well, it's like taking stuff out of the library of the mind, so that you don't have to lose the whole library every time a mind leaves, right? I think that's such a difficult part about chefing in general. Even sometimes, you'll lose a sous chef and you're like, fuck, wait, there was that one thing that they just did all the time that now I have to go back and
we changed that recipe, but I forgot how we did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe the last question can be something more more oriented to where you are and your sense of almost terroir with for lack of a better term, with your restaurant. And given we've spoken a little bit about climate change and growing, how important is like the soil there for the plants that you focus on? We spoke about sort of cold soil being good for strawberries, and then they suck when they're in Bali or Singapore or whatever. Do you feel like there's something unique to the soil there? And like, I mean, we're talking on behalf of Zero Foodprint here, so like preservation of soil and how that's kind of going, and yeah, just what your thoughts are on maybe how you're going to try and keep what you're doing going in terms of soil. Huh?
Yeah, well, I wish I was a smarter person to have a better answer, but I mean, I think again, we talked about it a little bit before. I think what we are doing is digging deeper in not soil, but in what is into what is native to Bali or what is native to Indonesia. I just found out that sugarcane is native to Indonesia. I thought it was South American or Central American. Apparently, it's from here. It's brought there by the French, and we don't make rum here, or
or very little,
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's not for me the first alcoholic drink I think of when I think about Indonesia or Malaysia or the Malay. So I think by doing that and by pushing our team members and people that try to get us new ingredients more and keep repeating, okay, this is what we want. So that is the stuff that grows here originally. So I think as long as we keep doing that, we don't necessarily introduce things that are not from here. I think that is a good thing, also from a soil perspective. I like to believe. And I think soil for the first time it got like a touchable concept for me when we start doing the rooftop jungle or garden, because it is a rooftop, and we go from 30 sandy to 60 centi. I think that's the most.
Oh,
so there's not a lot
that's
of.
quite deep for a rooftop, though.
Yeah, but I mean it's a thick layer of concrete we have, so it's sloped with little terraces underneath, so that the soil doesn't. Um, but we dig a big basement, so that soil went back up on the roof, and it was shit quality soil, right?
Yeah,
There
it's
was
terrible.
nothing
Yeah.
in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's still a work in progress, but we had the only good thing about the heavy rainy season we had is that now the rooftop looks a lot happier, and not just because of the water, but also because of the amount of things that my gardener put into the soil to make it healthier. But it's we far from having a healthy rooftop garden. It looks a lot better because of the amount of rain, so it looks a lot greener. It looked really yellowish, really dry. Not only because we didn't water it enough, apparently we find out, but also because the soil was so bad. So the importance of that was a new thing for me. It's like soil is soil, right? We know it's not, but I thought we put that soil back on, put some compost, and plant all those plants, and we
Yeah,
get
yeah.
happy days. No, it's hard work and work in progress to get somewhere, and it's we a year and a half in when we started planting the first plants, I think, and it looks already a lot better. But it's according to my gardener, there's still a long way to go. So
Oh yeah. They
yeah,
always say, what is it? The farmers thing is, oh, the best year is next year.
yeah.
Every year, every
Oh
year.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
no, that's a new one, but yeah, for sure. So that's when soil became a bit more of a touchable concept for me. Like okay, it's that of course, as basic knowledge as a chef that had a vegetable garden one day many years ago somewhere. It plays a role, but again, I think for us the most important is that we look for things that are native, and that always makes sense, I think, anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, you're going to have the biodiversity that works best with your soil, working with native plants, anyways. So it
Yeah,
kind of runs full circle for you in terms of like utilizing native ingredients and improving the soil it's a top and tail process of a circle kind of thing. Yeah.
yeah.
No,
No,
very cool.
sure. Come
Yeah.
over.
Yeah, I will. We were actually supposed to at the end of last year in November, and then we got caught up on some other stuff. But I need to come down soon. Yeah.
Because you weren't in Singapore during Kita, right? You were. They told me you were somewhere
No,
else.
yeah, I was actually frolicking around vineyards in Europe.
That was
Not
yeah.
not a bad way to go about things, but yeah.
No, no, for sure. But no, that's Scott who told me. Maybe Russell did. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it'll be one of
Yeah.
those people. I think we have a few friends in very common. So yeah, totally. No, I need to come down, and I've been looking forward to it for a while. I've been to the old Locavore once, but
Yeah, we chatted after that. I don't think we
yeah,
chatted in
exactly.
person. I don't know, but I
Yeah,
know that we did either
no,
email
we've never
or
met in person. I don't think
then we
so.
emailed,
Yeah,
right? You emailed me
yeah,
and I emailed. Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's okay. I wasn't sure. Sometimes I've,
Oh
we
yeah, don't
talked,
worry.
not in real, but yeah,
Yeah, no, but I'll get down there and I'll let you know as soon as
yeah.
I
Please do.
yeah, wicked, and much appreciated for today too.
No,
I
yeah,
hope it
no,
was good for you. Easygoing conversation, but yeah.
yeah. It's sometimes I struggle a bit for words, but
No, you
it's
did
good to some.
you
It's
did
to
great. Yeah.
think about. Like I said, we are cooks, right? We roll up our sleeves and start working, and sometimes we just work and work and work and work and don't think about things. And so sometimes it's good to have conversations like this, although they're very casual, but it's just to think about what we are doing and why we are doing it, and if we should keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Just hit pause on the raw work for a second and think about what we're up to. Yeah, makes a
Yeah,
big difference ultimately in the long run. But yeah,
yeah.
much appreciated
Yeah.
again for today.
No, thanks
Yeah.
for
So
asking. Yeah.